Okay, so I had a very interesting thing.
I'll give you a flavor. I'll make it hard for you, you know.
Okay, and ये सब मत डालना.
The most stupidest rules were the skirt had to be longer than below the knee.
Some members of the family for the male child versus me.
There's something called the slay bestie.
Slay besties.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the ReSchool Podcast. Today we have with us two stellar guests. We have Jyoti Kabra with us,
Hi.
a wonderful design enthusiast, and Priyanshi Patel, a founder of Many Colors. Why don't you guys start introducing yourself to the audience to understand what exactly it is that you do?
Hi, I'm Jyoti Kabra. I'm a mother. That's how I know myself. The foremost thing that I do. I'm a mother to a 14-year-old and I have 2 furry babies. Apart from that, I'm building my own brand. So it's called The Good Things in Life. We're into gifting solutions and trying to get a very niche market into Ahmedabad.
Oh, how I know that. They genuinely are the good things in life.
Thank you.
Yes, Priyanshi.
So we have a family business of cooking oils. We've been in the FMCG space since the last 25 years. I've started my own brand again, a little diversification into more natural cold press oils. Apart from that, I run a foundation and our aim and wish is to inspire 1 billion lives through our activities and events.
Wow. I hope you achieve that for sure. So, moving forward, before we talk about ReSchool or anything else, tell me what was your schooling like? So, if you can go back to the school days, what were those days like and what did it entail? So,
Since you called me, I've just been thinking about my schooling days, to be honest. And the most I remember about my schooling was how we were so driven by education, as in, everything was about competing for marks and, being in certain position. Like you had to be in the top 3 ranks, or that is all my parents were expected of me, to be one of the top rankers. And even as a school, that was where the whole burden of education was on our shoulders, that you have to just take this forward. And
so it was all academics.
Academics, yes, only academics, and very little of co-curricular there was, but we weren't motivated or we weren't pushed into anything like that. It was something that you did on the sides, something that you did as a recreation, not you never had an opportunity to pursue as a career. So we were never, what do you call it? What's the word? Sorry, encouraged. We were never encouraged to take it up as a career, even by my parents and the school as well. So this is all I remember of my school. Always trying to be like, oh, how much did you score? How much did I score? That's all I remember.
Okay. So you were in this space where there was only a singular part of your personality that was looked into, which
Just
is
one
marks
vertical, yes.
and academics, and the co-curriculars were more like a cosmetic layer that you may wish to do it. It was more like the last minute thing, but that never comprised of something that you could genuinely pursue as a part of passion.
Absolutely. So the creative side of me, because I've always been a creative person, and the most we could do was drawing, painting, and some craft work. So we were not exposed to a lot of things. I wish we were. I think with the limited that we got, we made the most of what we could. So this is how my schooling experience was personally.
Great. So I'm sure you're missing all of that.
I am a little jealous of Khwahish, I see her have so many more experiences than I did, and I truly, truly believe that I'm living here for experiences. I'm here for experiences. So when Khwahish gets to see and visit so many places and learn so many new things at school, and you guys have so many other things apart from just her co-curricular activities or even just sports. I'm not talking about co-curricular as in just sports. Even apart from that, even the Founders Fleet that you're talking about, that's such a great way of exposure for kids, I feel. They have such a great opportunity to showcase their own skills in different ways.
Well, I love to hear all this about GTIS. I think it feels like we have called you only to praise GTIS.
No. So, this is the only school I know about because my child goes here. So.
But I understand. So the newer generation, thankfully, has few more opportunities than what we were imparted when we were.
A lot more from where I come.
Yes, Priyanshi, what was your schooling like?
I have been all around. I've changed 6 schools. I've been all over. I think I in my first grade itself, I was in a boarding school in Mount Abu. Post that, I was in a different branch. Then I changed another school, and then for a year I was in another school. And ultimately, after a lot of different experiences, I landed up at the Mayo Girls Ajmer. So I believe I have got a variety of things. And it's not just one thing, but I believe that all of these various experiences have helped me shape and understand the world of education a little better. So my days were primarily more focused on academic, not because of pressure, but I think I self-pressurize myself for excellence.
Self-induced pressure.
Self-induced pressure, which I still do for excellence. So I think the thrive to become the youngest, the first, and the only woman, that was, I think, something that I inherited from looking at all of those spaces. And somehow the teachers that I got, the environment that I got was not just all positive. So I had a combination of great, good, bad, ugly, worse, everything that you can put together. And I believe that if I did not get all of those experiences as a child, it would not have led me today to where I am. So it was not about thanking and being grateful for all the good experiences, but to also be able to learn and harvest everything else that also came into the place to reach where I am. But overall, co-curricular was something which was never of my interest. I was very focused that I want to, only excel academically. My parents tried all different sports. They, they were interested and they wanted to make sure that I pick something up. But comically, it's like no matter what they will put me in, it's like 2-3 months and I will figure out a health excuse or something and I'll pull myself out. So, things were to such an extent wherein my mom would have to call my friends and be like, I have gone nuts looking at this woman studying, please take her out. So my friends will come home, they will take me out for a coffee and I will be like, okay, I need to get back. So my school days were me writing papers for myself, me making papers for everyone.
Notes for others.
Notes for everyone. I will write my own question papers because my teachers were tired of giving me question papers. So then I'll make my own question papers and then, write them and grade myself again. So all the digests that you could find, it's like I would have learned, I would have mugged up every single thing.
So you were this voracious, curious child and you wanted to know it all kind of a thing. And when it came to academics, you were this padhaku bacha who wanted to make sure that I am supposed to know everything.
Yeah.
And co-curriculars is something your parents asked you to participate in, but you were not too keen about it.
Not at all.
And here's another one.
Exactly what I was thinking. What a diverse experience I've had, In fact, when she talked about curiosity, I realized that we were not curious at all. We were not taught to be curious because, it was just guided. This is what you need to learn.
Children are by default curious.
Yeah.
It's just that as schools, we take it away. As adults, we take away that curiosity. Like you feel today that we were not curious.
No, I wasn't.
No. So what happens is at a very young age, you started to look at obedience as a more important discipline and obedience as a more important quality to have than curiosity. So over a period of time, you kind of overcame that. And then we have this person who is so very inclined to academics and all of it. And it's amazing to have this great mix. I, of course, didn't know about this about you guys. So we really...
This also brings in the conversation of one, it's like when there's a stagnation, there is no ability to be curious. I think, for her, it was one school. For me, I was pushed into different environments time and again. So, like when I was not even 6 years old, it's like, at 5.5, I was put in a boarding school. So all by myself at that young age, I believe I had to build to be curious, resilient, to be able to survive. And post that, the constant shifts of moving from one place to the other. So there was no ability to sit down and to, be grounded in that environment. So, I believe not just an intrinsic quality of curiosity. I believe that the environments helped me or pushed me to ensure that there was curiosity as a part of life.
Can I add something here? This also reminds me, this is exactly why, since you were pushed into different schools and different environments, you had to rediscover yourself and you're okay with change. This is the reason I think kids like me, or, who were of my age then, we're so resistant to change, This is something that I struggle with till today because, I just don't accept change easily. It's just very hard. It's a personality disorder now, I feel. I just can't accept change.
I have changed 9 schools.
You told me once.
My father was in a transferable job, which meant every now and then there would be like a transfer and we would have to move on and all that. And one quality it builds in you very deeply is resilience and adaptability. Mm-hmm. So for us, change is like, I know how this works. That ability to go with the flow comes inbuilt. And I think these are the things that we need to do in childhood.
My parents were so orthodox. They never even wanted me to go on a school trip alone. So we've never been on a trip alone anywhere. So that also makes me very sad right now. You guys are talking about experiences and here I'm thinking, what did I do? Sorry, please edit this. My parents will be very sad to hear.
So tell me about some absurd rules that you experienced in your childhood. It could be rules in the school, rules in your home, household, your society, whatever. But something that you feel was just there to please either the adult or some archaic rule setting that somebody decided. Was there anything of that sort?
Yes, many. I was told very young in my life that I'm supposed to get married by the time I'm 21, 22. So once my friend asked me, remember this is something I really remember, and she was asking me, what do you want to do? You discuss your future plans, and I'm like, I want to get married. This is exactly what I told her. Then I'm going to get married by 22. So I don't know what I'm going to do after that. I only know that I'm going to get married at 22. So it was drilled into my head that yes, this is how it is. You finish this, and then you finish this, and you're going to get married. You're going to get married.
That's the end of it.
That's the end of it. Nobody shows what is after marriage. But yes, I knew my way till marriage,
Okay.
So this was one, not a rule, but this was like a life rule, I feel, just written for you by my parents. And then school-wise, yes, I think the most stupidest rules were the skirt had to be longer than, below the knee. And I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think my school had any rules as such. I think we were very okay with everything, This is how it was. The only rule I remember is my parents' rule.
Okay. Yeah.
I developed the quality of being a rebel as I was the oldest, and there were 3 other siblings who were younger, and I was always told to be nice, too nice. And my brother was the only male child in the house. So not all, but there were some members who had a very strong inclination or the ability to glorify the male child. So I believe I've learned and I've lived my life rebelling to those norms. And at most of the places in my life, I've become the youngest and the first woman. And I think that ability to rebel was something that I saw too many things within the childhood arena things were different by some members of the family for the male child versus me. And that I felt I've strongly rejected. Another part, absurd rules is so many different schools. There were, like Mayo was a whole together different environment. And before that, I was in a school wherein boys were different, girls were different. And if they happened to even look at each other, that means they're dating. And it was outrageous in terms of culture. And it's like the teachers also, they would not encourage it. And me wanting to ensure that I break all of those rules, it's like, I will go and I'll sit on the boys' side of the thing that, do whatever you want to do.
So here was this firebrand Priyanshi from childhood who is like, listen, you give me a rule, I'm going to find a way around it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And if there's discrimination, I am the Jhansi ki Rani and I'm going to make sure that is broken apart.
I'll give you a flavor. I'll make it hard for you,
Meet the rebel at heart.
You were a rebel too?
Okay, so I had a very interesting thing. Again, we are 4 siblings and I have an elder sibling who is who is so naughty that because of her I've always been in trouble, and I have a younger sibling who is the naughtiest person you'll ever meet. So I was like sandwiched between these two people, and my parents were very egalitarian. So अगर झाड़ पड़ती है तो everybody gets an equal share of it. मार पड़ती है तो सबको equal पड़ती है. It doesn't matter whether you did it or not. But the fact that you are together means you are getting a piece of their mind. So yeah, I was from childhood. You had to develop that grit. It's like survival of the fittest. That if you don't do this, you're not going to survive this household, beta. So, so you had to kind of become that. But yes, my rebellion comes out in many forms. Earlier, it would be like trying to sneak out of the house, etc., small little teenage stuff. Today it comes out in terms of questioning the schooling system. Today it comes out in terms of questioning the schools as they exist, and hence ReSchool. In many ways, I think ReSchool is my answer to my own rebellion against what schools should be like. Literally, like when we started DDS, I would question like, why do we need to do this? There would be people we would hire who would come from established schools and all of that, and they would say, oh, this process is like this and this is like this. I'm like, why? Who said that? Why does it have to be this way? And they would literally feel, they would be blasphemized. They're like, listen, but schools work this way. But who decided schools work this way? What if we just chose to look at it differently? What if we just had the courage to stand up and say that it doesn't have to be that way? Status quo doesn't need to be maintained forever and ever.
Exactly.
So yeah, rebellion was something that I think when you're pushed to the wall, rebellion is the answer that comes out.
So that's what's happening to me now, I feel, that since I haven't been a rebel all my life, always never question anybody in my life. This was it. Even if B was A, it was B, it was A. So now it's coming out, the rebel side. Like I keep asking questions to myself. Why will I choose this? Why should I choose this? So yeah, it does come when you push to the wall.
When you push to the wall. So yeah, join our club.
I need to take some lessons from.
We will train you on what to do. Again, ये सब मत डालना.
I'll send a voice to you.
Moving forward, I want to know you both run successful businesses. You are in the world of work. You meet hundreds of people. What is it that you would expect schools to do in order to ensure that society at large benefits? Do you think what the schools are doing today, or the way schools are designed, do you think we are preparing our next generation for what the demands of life are? Are we doing a good job as a school or not? And if not, what is it that we should be doing as schools?
So, from my experience, whatever I experienced in childhood and whatever I see today, schools are hyper-focused on human. And within the human aspect also, they are hyper-focused on success, on, the materialist aspect of life. Just this weekend, I was at a conference that looked at world in a very different way. It was like the future of where we're going to go. And Thomas Friedman was the one who started the conversation. And that's when I realized that all of world is a combination of human, nature, and technology. Ultimately, and all of them, they're impacting and interacting with one another. And throughout those 2 days, we looked at very deeply how the interconnection of all of these elements is, and how it's like, especially tech now. Initially, it was human and nature. Now, the way tech is revolutionizing everything is very fast. So I believe that schools are, again, rather than just looking at a human aspect of the world, it is important to integrate the human, the tech, which is how world is moving quicker, and also the nature. So when all three elements come together, first is for them to learn how they are all interdependent. Second is for them to be able to adapt to each one of them. And third is the ability for them to know in terms of what's the idea. Now, I think more than providing solutions and giving the answers of this is how it's going to be, I believe that leaving them with a question, leaving them with a curiosity in terms of, hey, how can these things, elements, interact with one another? Not just leaving at that, questioning them. Are these the only three elements? Are there other elements that interact with one another? And when you, from a cocooned setup, when you'll go out there and when you live, how do you see yourself interacting with multiple forces? And how will you influence different parts? And, I believe more than anything in today's day and time, with all of these climate changes also happening, it's very important for schools to be able to teach the student that there's more than human. on this planet, and for them to be conscious and respectful of all of those elements put together.
Great. So what you're saying is schools need to work with students in terms of being more aware of the role of humans in this world, and not live with this idea of saying we are the supreme beings. We need to be able to look at interact with nature in a way that is fulfilling, rather than just encroaching and walking all over it. And I love this idea of how all systems are made of these three things, whether there's the human element, there's the technology element, and there's the nature element. And I think technology has existed for humans since forever. Oftentimes I find people talking about tech as if it's a recent phenomena, but humans, so developing a simple tool to hunt was also a technology. So technology in one way or the other has been a part of human civilization since forever. So yeah, so you would want schools to be to train the students to look at a larger picture, rather than just look at the myopic way in which the schools presently function, where you're talking about you study for the test, you take the test, you get the certificate, and there you go to the world, right?
Absolutely. I think at today's day and time, we've also expanded the arena of not just the IQ, but also the EQ. But I think that expansion is also within the human realm. Like we've not diverged in terms of what more is possible.
Yeah, no, once in a while we do the World Environment Day, and then we do and then we do these cosmetic things of let's plant a sapling and all of it, and then it's forgotten. But that deep integration of literally weaving it into your life is something that most schools are unable to do. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
I think I can't up that answer, no. I really can't. I think she said it all.
Yeah, it's okay. We would say
I really don't have anything else to add to this, because I think it will just be a continuation of what, because it makes sense and I do understand it this way, and I'd like to look at it this way, in fact.
Great. So then tell me about what is it to be a mother, both of your mothers to young, vivacious daughters, and raising them in this world of Instagram, in these times where body image issues crop up as young as 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds and all of that, and where the norms of what is expected out of the girl child are changing so fast, and the girls are being far more assertive. What is it to be a mother in these times?
I think for me, the definition keeps changing every day. Every day I have to take on a different role. Some days I have to be her friend, some days I have to be her mother, some days I just need to be there. I don't need to really play any role in her life. So I think it just takes its own definition with everything that she's going through in her school or in her life, and just to adapt to her and not be a parent every single day, or be like, okay, this is how it's supposed to be, this is how you need to do it. I think the only question I keep asking her more these days is, tell me more. If there's something that she has, or if she's going through, if she has something to share, I'm open to listen. And I don't push her to be open with me. I just give her and let her be in her own space. This is something that I'm practicing right now, and I think it's doing well for me.
So you have literally reschooled yourself as a parent, reparented yourself, in terms of that you don't need to take care of that child as in the same manner as when she was young, and today you need to let her deal with her feelings and just give her the assurance that I'm there for you.
And I do make mistakes. I've made my own mistakes on the way as a parent. When Khwaish was younger, I think I was way more stricter, that this is how it's supposed to be. You want to study for an hour, you have to do this, you have to do these many classes. And now I realize that, okay, all of that was not necessary, so it's okay. I'm quite forgiving like that. So I'm the same with Khwaish. I just let her be, just let her be. No control whatsoever.
Okay. And what is it that you would want to tell a mother of a young child today?
I think of what I hear and what I see, mothers of late are really, really controlling, that the child has to eat this much, the child has to eat this food, that food, nutritious. And so I think they try to keep their child busy all the time, trying to, what is that? I think like super programming jo hota hai na, where they want to control every hour of the day, every minute of their child. They don't let their child be bored, which is the biggest, I think, flaw in parenting today, where you don't let your kids get bored. You're continuously stimulating their minds with some activity, some friends, some sort of a thing. And I think I'd just like to tell the parents to just let their child be boring, or just be bored for some time. It's okay. It's okay if they have nothing to do, and if they have nothing at all to do. But I think mums of late are very panicky when they have nothing to do. I think they need to have their whole schedule fixed.
I think
To chill.
to chill. Okay, so the moms need to chill. Moms, my dear, coming from Jyoti Kabra, chill. Don't take so much stress. Children grow up well in any case.
They will.
Yes. What do you have?
Sorry, she's a young mom.
But she's the chill mom.
So, something that I'd read which said that children, they don't come from you, they come to you.
Khalil Gibran.
Yeah. And I think in my journey as a motherhood, the more, I don't think I've taught her more, I have learned more. And this is where the curious and the rebel, both of them had to. And I have questioned very deeply in terms of what is my role. And I've moved away the ownership or my ideas from that entire bit. And I think in the last 8 years, so many people who've known me earlier or who even know me year after year, they're surprised in terms of what happened to you. And I knew that for me to become a better mother, it's not what I do, but who I am being. And that is something that I have learned in my journey. So for me, motherhood is more about looking at my own self. Like I know very deeply that Samaira is not, listening to what I'm saying, but she's watching what I'm doing, who I am. And for them, with lesser stimulants around them, they are more observant, they understand more. So that ability we have lost, but they have. So for me to, if I want to teach her strength, I have to act from a position of strength. And those things have not been easy, honestly. I have had to break myself so many times and rebuild, and, like a lot of times even reach out to help and be like, I can't make this shift in myself. So how do I break that? And how do I, become a better person for her? Not for her to become a better child, but for me to become a better parent. And all of those shifts have, I think, helped me become a better human being. So for me, mothering is more about how I'm mothering my own self and breaking generational inheritance. I think my mother received her inheritance from her mother. So there's a train of things that you can easily see. And a lot of times my reactions are also the same. But I have to, at one point learn to pause and be able to respond and not have the reactions surface. And even though they've surfaced, be able to be extremely kind, because I want her to also know that you will mess up. And a lot of times I do lose my cool, and then I come back and be like, I'm sorry, I lost my cool, I'm going to try and be able to learn to respond in a better way. But if it came, I hope you can forgive me. And a lot of times it's like, oh, she's very sweet. She'll come around, she'll hug me, and she's like, it's fine. And I'm like, thank you.
This is something I'd like to add here as well, that I think this is something I have learned as well, that saying sorry comes easier to me when it comes to Khwahish, because, I realize that I can just be my own self and vulnerable in front of her, because she's the most forgiving and most understanding, which is what she's expecting from me as well. So as she said, you learn more than you teach. So yes, I'm going through the same.
And I think what you said, Priyanshi, is very well put, where you're saying it's not about making the child right. It is about you as the mother, as the parent, you being the best version of yourself, so that the child is seeing what children really never do what you tell them to do. They are constantly observing you, and they are figuring it out where there is a discrepancy. So if there is a dichotomy in what you said and what you're doing, they will tell you once, but if you shut them down because of your authority and your size, next time they may not talk about it, but they see. They can very easily tell कि आप कहते कुछ हो, करते कुछ हो. So asking them to be strong or asking them to act courageous doesn't work. Being courageous in your own life, taking care of your own life is what you should be doing, right? It's not about asking them to be this way or that way. It's not about they are not a custom-made toy that you've got where you get to decide, okay, I want this level of curiosity and that level of obedience and all of that.
You have to practice and not preach.
Practice and not preach. And you have to be able to live your life. And just one anecdote that I remember. So once in a while, I would get worked up about, I think I put on weight and this and that. And I would stand in front of the mirror and I would be like, this, that. And my daughter once came in and she's like, you know you're absolutely fine, right? I'm like, no, but lately I think my pants have become tighter and all of that. And she's like, and you want me to feel good about my body. And that is when it literally struck me that no matter what I tell her, if I'm going to act like this, she's going to inherit these traits. So she literally coached me on what is it to be a parent. And since then, I've at least not in front of her told me that about what I feel.
They are.
In my experience, what I have seen my mother, my parents do, and what most do is they believe that as parents, one of their roles is to protect them from things happening. Be it, for example, self-image is. So we're always looking at ways for things not to happen to them, and our insecurity, our fears are driven very largely by ये नहीं होना चाहिए, इसके लिए protect them. What I've learned is life is going to happen. We cannot stop it. So I understand that even in our homes, it's like there are multiple different things that she's observing. And rather than fearing it and shutting her from those experiences, I allow them to flow. She gets hurt in a small way, she comes back. And I then have the ability to teach her that it's not when things go wrong, but how you fix them. How do you look at them? So what I believe is my role as a mother is to make her stronger and not build that dam in terms of that it should not happen. That dam will burst someday. So I believe that as schools also and as individuals also, rather than fearing that failure shouldn't happen or putting those things in place, I believe that families, motherhood, or institutions need to come together to teach children how to become resilient. How they'll fall down, they'll get hurt. It's inevitable. You have to get up. So
you will scrape your knees. There is no way out. And if you don't scrape them in childhood, bloody hell, it's going to hurt you a lot more when you grow up. So you might as well just...
This is a discussion we had at breakfast table today as well, where my husband was continuously talking about, oh my God, this is happening. He reads all of these news and, all things that he feeds on in the night, and then morning he's just like putting it on us. Oh, I read this and this is scary. So he's like, Khwahish, till she's married, I want to take care of her. And it was like, ding, ek ghanti baji ki my dad is speaking. This is exactly how my dad used to speak. And I'm like, no, I'm not here to protect her. I can be her safe space. I can be a place where she comes back to once she's fallen. I'm always there. And she will make her part of mistakes. She has to make her part of the mistakes. Until she does it, how is she going to learn? So just trying to argue my way out today. And I'm like, no, I'm hitting a wall. I'm not going to argue about it. But yes, as she said, I want to be her safe space that she comes back to, not something that she holds my hand and protects herself everywhere. But yeah, she comes back to me if she needs me. But I can't protect her, as she said. I don't want to do that.
I think as institutions, as schools also, very often we find a lot of schools getting into this trap. So a shift that we are seeing is earlier schools were the place where the children were disciplined. So parents literally send children to school and they're like, listen, ye isko sambhal lena, ye wo. And there was a lot of faith that they put in schools to say that whatever the teacher is saying or them, it must be right. My child must be in the wrong, otherwise teacher is not going to say something against my child. Today the tables have turned around completely.
Yeah, I think they're attacking the teachers.
Yes, today the parent feels that it is their job to protect the child against the teacher, against the institution at large. And it is as if everybody is out there to get to your child. Now in an environment like that, what happens is these children are growing up as in these cocoon environments where they've never had a bad day.
Exactly.
Where they've never been allowed to get hurt. Not being called to a party causes trauma.
yeah.
There are times when, I was socially ostracized. I'm like, but you have no clue what is it to be socially ostracized. But that is how these children are growing up. And as parents, I think there's one thing I have seen is, please be there for the child, but let the society take its own form in terms of how your child interacts with them. Every time you try to maneuver them, or every time you try to act as this shield, you are just delaying that process of hitting the good, bad, ugly of the world. Because it is going to hit them in the face. Okay, so with that, moving forward, what I would like you guys to do is there anything about ReSchool that you would want to ask, or say any questions that you have, or you could just pick out any chapter and say, what does this mean to you? Share what is it that it means to you, and if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, so this is a question from the book and also a personal question. If grades and exams are artificial indicators of learning, what could serve as a more authentic measure of genuine learning?
Honestly, that's one question I don't have an answer to, and that's why I put it as a question in here as well. But I think having a string of accreditations rather than this one-off exams that we kind of take, that would help. We need to shift our lens from saying education is what you do in your younger years and then you go to the world of work and all of that and then you retire. I think moving forward, a lot of things are just going to intermingle. So you learn for a while and then you go to the world of work, you apply it, but you realize that, oh, you need to reskill yourself, upskill yourself, go back, and then acquire those micro credits. So instead of just looking at those one set of marks that decide the path for your lifetime, looking at it as smaller milestones and then moving forward. The problem is not with testing per se as much as what opportunities that testing opens up for you. So imagine if I could, today I want to be a designer and I could apply for a course, learn for myself, and then I realized that within this course of designing, I want to do more in terms of lights and sound. Then I could probably go and upskill myself on that instead of saying that, oh, because I didn't take up design or science in my 11th and 12th, so I can't do that. So if we could just remove that, I think that would be a great way for the human mind to be harnessed better.
Okay, can I add to this question? So, the question asks that what are the indicators if the child is learning or doing well, right? So how do you keep them motivated where you're not even pushing them to get certain grades, but you are also keeping them motivated to perform well, So how do you do that? How does one parent do that?
I think motivation is intrinsic. Honestly, you cannot motivate others. There are a lot of motivational speakers and you will find hundreds of people talking about motivation. You can't. Motivation is something that comes from within when you are inspired enough to solve that problem. You cannot, and whenever as schools, as adults, we try it very often, but whenever it comes from without, it comes from outside, it is rarely imbibed. It's like hanging that carrot. And for a while you will run towards it and you will do it because you want that certificate or something like that. But eventually in the long run, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So yeah, I don't think we need to motivate our children. We just need to have them find a lot of things that could be of interest to them. So if this doesn't work for you, go find something else that you could do for hours. And believe me, it doesn't matter what they do. You want to solve the Rubik's Cube for hours? Go ahead, do that. As long as it is not doom scrolling on Instagram, everything else is okay. Like you want to sit and look at the trees forever and ever, be my guest. You want to sit and knit and all of that. You want to play sports, do whatever it is that you could do. Even one thing pursued with passion, it builds that muscle of motivation. They know how much effort it takes to kind of do that. So I hope this helps.
No, it does.
For me, the question is, you spoke about listening to students from their channels and the way that most listening needs to happen. For example, I had to learn effective listening and be able to mold myself. Do you think schools and parents are doing the job of effective listening?
The short answer is no. Everybody is hell-bent on talking. We have public speaking courses. We rarely do something called listening. In our high school, we've started with a basic listening course where you're saying that, okay, are you really getting what the other person is saying? Instead of just listening to reply. It's a very different skill and it needs to be acquired and it needs to be practiced day in and day out. But no, that is not happening, unfortunately. Very few individuals by themselves choose to educate themselves in it and all of that. That might be happening. But that is also the differentiator. Because everybody is talking, who is listening? If you can be in today's world, if you can be a listener, if you can authentically listen to somebody, hold them for a while, be that empathetic, active listener and just hold them for that time, that person will be sold to you forever. You will not need to then coach them, tell them right, wrong, etc. Nothing is required. I think the best gift we can give to anybody, not just students, to anybody, is your time without interruptions. So if we could just do that much for your loved ones, for people around, that would be great. One rule we have in our home is no phones on the dining table. It's a very simple thing. And often one of the family members is tempted to do it because, she has to answer calls, this, that, etc., etc. And now the children have gotten so used to it. She's like, listen, no phones, no phones. But because we've taken the phones away and because we're looking at each other, the dinner conversations have become so much more meaningful, fruitful, and honestly not meaningful, fruitful, it's become a lot of banter. But that banter is required, right? You need that downtime. You need to be able to pull each other's leg and tell them, you're bakwas, don't do this to me, all of that. So yeah, listening, and you have to listen to them in their own channels, in their own words. Very often our students, my children, they train me on what the new lingo is. There's something called the slay bestie.
Slay bestie.
Slay bestie. So we get this coaching. We're like, acha, ye kya hota hai, wo kya hota hai, all of that. So you need to be updated and up.
Is this the Gen Z or the Gen Alpha? What are they?
This is, I think, Gen Z. This is the Gen Z. Mine is Gen Z. You are Alpha. All right. Any other questions that you have, or we move to the rapid fire?
Yes. I think we're done. I'm done, Madam. Yeah? I'm actually done.
Okay. And remember, it's rapid fire, which means you don't get time to think forever. All right. If you could invite one celebrity, alive or dead, to be in the classrooms, if you could invite one person to a classroom today, who would that be?
Nelson Mandela.
I think Matthew Perry from Friends.
Oh, wow. How the kids would love that.
Yeah.
A movie or a song that you watch or listen to on repeat?
With Khwahish, I keep listening to Love You Zindagi a lot of times, yeah.
I love you, baby.
Okay. What makes your lid go off? So, like, literally something that happens and it blows your mind.
Indiscipline.
Okay.
PMS.
You'll have to be a little louder for that. I hope the box.
Hush.
Okay. If you were a superhero, who would you be? Or a super heroine, super actor?
I think I'll be Popeye the Sailor Man, I just love how he eats spinach and, that's what I keep telling Khwahish, you eat all the spinach and you gain all the strength and, you're ready to take on the world.
Okay.
There's this character called Natasha, who rises from all dark situations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And could we look at, say, a few what-if scenarios? So, what if you were a child today? What do you see yourself doing?
Nothing.
Sorry, I think I'd be on the phone like all of the other kids that I see off late.
Really?
Yeah, because that's how it would be, I guess. I don't know. If I had to choose what I could do, then of course, so many more experiences, here. I have so much more exposure and learning. There's this AI, there's Google, we didn't have Google when we were young. I'm so happy to be in the world of Google today.
Okay. What if you could be an Olympic sports player? Which sport would you choose?
Running. Is it an Olympic sport? Sorry. Sorry.
I'm sure it is.
Me, sports.
Yeah.
I'll still just do mental marathons.
Chess.
No, more like how long can you read? I think I will top.
Oh, so you would go for reading marathons?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I will invent that. Like how long endurance reading. Quick reading. I think I will invent all of that and compete in that.
How I would love to have people participate in it. I would be one. I would definitely not win, but I'd love to participate.
Me too.
Okay. What is your hidden talent? Something that you've probably not spoken to a lot of people, or you only talk about it to close friends. Today I'm asking you to talk about it on camera.
I'm a great counselor. I really listen and I can counsel people really well.
Wow.
I cook.
You cook very well.
I can cook well.
Okay. So you are a foodie and you cook very well.
Both.
And one last question. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you be?
I'd go back to Bangalore. To my own childhood place.
To your own childhood.
It used to be New York, but post-COVID, I would love to be here itself. I think India's growing very quickly, and Ahmedabad is at the heart of a lot of activity. So I believe I'm at the right place at the right time.
Okay.
Can we ask you a couple of questions?
Oh, yes.
Meenal, please.
Sure.
Now you can make this the fun part, okay?
There are questions behind as well, so if you want,
Have you read all of them, or can I come up with my own?
you can come up with your own. I've read all of them, but I wouldn't have answers.
We'll ask you one question each, maybe. That should.
Perfect.
So since you have asked us questions, now let us ask you some questions. If not Meenal Desai, if not the principal of GGIS, who would you be? What would you choose to be?
I'd probably be an event organizer.
Wow.
I love putting things together. I love how people gather and how you can create moments of great memory and joy forever. And I love the adrenaline rush that you get in it, and then seeing all of it disappear, and then it's like the evolution of humankind. You come together and then you disperse. So yeah.
So my one question is, how do you generally spend your free time? What's that one activity?
Free time is usually with kids and family back home, so there's a lot of chat and banter, and because we have like 3-4 kids around, so it happens there. But yes, I do have a set of the relatives and all of that where I'm just talking all nonsense, so which does not include any factors of the mind and all of it, and I'm just listening to all kinds of gossip and iska ye hua in the larger family, people whom I don't even know of, I have never met in my life, and all of that is going on. Very good because I have no clue about anything of that sort that's happening, but it's just being with all of them around, and other than that, if I'm free, I think I just go on a stroll or a walk and be by myself. Otherwise, very rarely do I do anything else. Reading is not a free time kind of a thing. It's a mandatory thing. It's more like a daily medicine sort of thing. So earlier reading was this free time thing. Now it's become such a habit that it's no more just free time. Reading is a time that is clocked in kind of a thing. So yeah, there's Netflix, there's people, and there's...
This time for Netflix?
Oh yes. You have to have a whole personality. How can you not have Netflix? How do you connect with students? I watch all the shows. So I will ask them, okay, what's happening, this, that. Then I make it a point, like, I have to watch Squid Games. The kids were talking about it so much that I had to I'm like, listen, there's something called Squid Games. Abhi, you and I need to watch it. And then I realized, what nonsense our kids are watching.
I've never seen.
Oh, darling, it's way too violent for even an adult. And there are so many children who've seen it. And now imagine all of that comes to our classrooms. So, all latest teenage drama, I watch all of it. Again, as I said, sometimes it's just to keep yourself abreast of where the society is moving, and sometimes it's just...
So I think I'll just let Khwahish watch Friends. I'm stopping her from watching it, and I'll be like, okay, just watch. I think it's better than watching all of the rest of the thing.
Definitely, and most kids by that age, I think they've watched Friends multiple times.
Yeah, she tells me that.
So... The other day, my daughter suggested a book. So I went on a vacation recently, and whenever I go on vacations, I ask them for books because my books are relatively boring for a vacation. So I asked them for suggestions, and she gave me a book, and I read that entire book, and I was like, this is like 4x Mills and Boon, for which we were banned in our classroom. And I came home and I'm like, तुम लोग ये book पढ़ते हो? Like, you guys are reading this. What am I supposed to read? And then, oh, did you find it too much? I'm like, Acha, this is not too much. So, yeah, that is what it is. And they're like, no, but it's okay. I'm like, okay, this is okay.
You have to be okay.
So, yeah, that's where our janta is. And it's about time we accept and acknowledge them and not feel bad about it. Just know that this is what it is.
Yeah.
Great. I think with that, we come to an end of this. It was a great pleasure having both of you over here. And we would love to know more, meet more about it. And I hope ReSchool helps you take this idea of parenting, schooling to a lot more parents and to your own homes.
Thank you, Meenal.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of this.